Let's talk media now with Sophie Elsworth, media writer at The Australian, joining us from Melbourne. Sophie, one story you've reported on today is the way some in Nine Media were critical of last night's debate. Let's have a listen to Ben Fordham, the breakfast host on Nine Media's Radio 2GB.
It was a shambles. It was messy. It was disjointed. It was awkward. It was all over the shop. Who won it? Well, I think a lot of people would be saying, who cares? Channel 9 was not the winner. People have got better things to do than waste their Sunday night listening to two people talking over each other.
There you go, Ben Fordham there. I disagree with him. I didn't mind it, but it's good to see there's no company line there at Nine. People just expressing their differing views.
Yeah, I was listening to 2GB this morning and heard Ben saying these comments. And you're right, Chris, just hearing him speak his mind as he should. But I can't imagine the Channel 9 media department would be too thrilled about this. I mean, he was effectively bagging the production on their network the night before. I do have to agree with some of his points though, Chris. It was very scrappy. It was hard to hear what they were saying. There were also issues with the QR code where you could lodge your votes. I tried to do it. I couldn't get through. I think Nine, while the ratings weren't too bad, they came in fifth for the evening in terms of the program viewership in the metro cities. I think they will be disappointed with some aspects. There was a lot of outrage on social media, Chris. People are not being able to hear what was being said, and then they couldn't cast their votes.
Yeah, the QR code things are stuff up, but mind you, I wouldn't care if I could never use a QR code again in my life. But there's a very different sort of debate compared to the Sky News People's Forum. I love that, but that's a different type of environment, and this is a good contrast. What I like was they did actually get to argue with each other, as unedifying as that was. It's good to see that they've got a bit of passion. But also the journalists, Chris Ullman in particular, Deb Knight, able to follow through on a couple of questions and actually pin them down a couple of times. That was useful.
It absolutely was, Chris. I liked that mixture there, where they could scrap a bit and then have the journalists hit them with some hard questions, which they did. And both leaders on many occasions tried to dodge some of those questions. But, Chris, I think the Sky debate was better done. We had a lot of people on social media commending Sky for its first, leaders debate. And we've got one more left. We've got another one on Channel 7 on Wednesday night. So I think Channel 7 would have watched that closely last night to make sure they don't make the same mistakes.
How about the question I showed at the top of the program, though, and the suggestion that the leaders were disrespectful because a woman was moderating the debate? I mean, honestly, do they have to get the gender wars into everything?
Yeah, Chris, I thought that was just pathetic. I'm sick of this female card being wheeled out at every opportunity. Those two leaders were scrapping, and it wouldn't matter if it was a male or a female there, I believe. I'm totally and utterly over people playing this gender card. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is pathetic. And it's disrespectful to Sarah Arbo, who did a good job in trying circumstances. Now, the other thing with Nine Media that's interesting is we read that some of the journos there are wondering why the newspapers, the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, haven't made more of Albo's stuff-ups. Now, these have been dramatic. This has been the story of the campaign, has been Albanese's stuff-ups. Yeah, but these newspapers have really glossed over them a bit, haven't they?
Well, they have, Chris. With that stuff up last week where he couldn't name his 6-point NDIS plan, he did not know. He had to rush to one of his advisors and be handed that notebook. It was just cringeworthy. But when you picked up the Age newspaper on Friday, there wasn't a story about it. And Neil Mitchell, the 3AW broadcaster on Nine's network in Melbourne, called this out and said he couldn't find an article about it in the print edition. Mind you, they did run a piece from David Crowe, the columnist, criticising these gotcha questions, which he sort of framed them as. But I think there's still considerable rift within Nine, Chris, between the paper arm and the broadcasting arm since they merged several years ago. And this is showing through with some of the print journos, differentiating from the broadcasting journalists.
Yeah, now speaking about debates, of course, the ABC hasn't got a debate and they don't like it and they can't get the interviews they want with the Prime Minister. Let's have a listen to ABC Melbourne radio host Virginia Trioli here.
We have been pretty much told by the Prime Minister's office, and that's been reaffirmed this morning, that we'll never get Scott Morrison. We were hoping that full schedule might have included us, given that we've been requesting for, it's coming on 3 years now, actually. No, Scott Morrison does not believe that he either has an obligation to or wants to or cares to address the morning listeners on ABC Radio Melbourne.
How does he have an obligation to talk to them when they can't even meet their legal obligation to provide fair and balanced reporting?
Well, Chris, there's a touch of arrogance here, I believe. And if Scott Morrison doesn't want to do an interview with the ABC, he doesn't have to. He shunned them with the opportunity of a debate. He's had their chief political reporter accuse him of ideological bastardry. And there's constant criticism of the ABC being biased. So if Scott Morrison doesn't want to do an interview with Virginia Trioli, he's well within his rights not to do that.
He is indeed. Thanks for joining us again, Sophie.